There's a lot of studies that are available though now that will that show that at the 20% penetration level, you ought to have an operating cost increase of about 10% on the generating cost of the wind resource. I did tell the group that our delivered cost of energy from our project is around $65 to $70 a megawatt hour, so we think it's very competitive. 97% availability factor, I think it was 36%. Yeah, 36% capacity factor. So this is proving to be a very valuable resource for us. We're looking at strategies to try and solve the integration issues. We would like to see geographical diversity, so we're looking at additional wind up in the Susanville area and even in Oregon to see if we could perhaps get out of having all of our wind in a single wind basin. We have a big hydro facility, so we are able to integrate the wind more easily because we have such an easily dispatchable resource. And we have a proposal in front of FERC to add a 400 megawatt pump storage project to our existing hydro facilities. If we do that, the concept, of course, of pump storage is that you pump the water up the hill at night when the loads are low, and then you bring it back down the hill during the day to meet peak load. And right now, that is looking like that could be a very attractive solution for us. Our maximum wind production is around 11 to midnight at night, so we may have a very good match with our pump storage hydro. I did give the group kind of a wish list of things that I would like to see, options where the wind industry itself starts to think about packaging wind from different geographic basins, packaging it with other renewable resources so that maybe you can increase the capacity value, package obviously with pump storage hydro if and where that might be available. And then the other thing I threw out is we're really in this for the long haul. We want a long-term resource. This obligation we have, 20% renewables, is permanent, and we need the resource to be there with good warranties, good equipment, and people that are prepared to do maintenance and help us operate them and keep them successful and a part of the solution for us for the long haul. So I think other than that, I ask for cooperation on transmission and improvements in wind data. The more wind data we can get, especially forecasting wind a day ahead, the better off we'd be. The numbers are getting pretty good about the 4-hour window for wind forecasting, but we need to work to try and see if we can get a little bit better in terms of forecasting, because then that will create additional operational value that the wind industry would get credit for in a utility portfolio. So, thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. The California System Operator is an independent entity that does not have financial interest in any assets, transmission or generation. We were established and started operating in 1998. We control the grid of about 80% of the California grid transmission. We are responsible for planning and integrating facilities of all kinds to the grid, and also operate the market and responsible for planning the transmission system. As you all know, California have an RTS or a renewable portfolio standard that would have to achieve 20% of the energy consumption by 2010 and 30% by 2020. The 20% is pretty much is the law, 30% is a vision, but I'm sure it's going to soon become a law. To just put things in perspective, the amount of generation currently of all resources in the state is about 55,000 megawatt. That is in-state generation that serves the load. The 20% amounts to about 13,400 megawatts of nameplate capacity. That's the 2010. Of that, we have less than 6,000 existing today. That means we need more than 7,000 megawatt of nameplate capacity of renewable. And the majority by 2010. It might slip 2011 or something, but we'll refer that at the 20% stage. Both the 20% and 30% are challenged, but of course the 30% is much more challenging, but it needs a different way than the 20% stage. What I told the group this morning is we're reasonably confident that we will make the 20% work. The 30%, it is not like it's impossible, but even for the 20%, we would have liked to see more diversity in the portfolio on a regional basis. So meaning that even if every state build facilities within the state based on its own RPS, we would like to have portfolios of load-serving entities spread all over the West. So this way you have the seasonal and regional diversity that would minimize cost and increase reliability substantially, and would make actually the operation much easier than it would be otherwise. Maybe we don't have time for the 20% target to do that on a regional basis, but certainly beyond that time and starting now thinking about it, it would have to get to more of a regional portfolio, talking about Western region, than it is today. The existing resources, there was questions of whether they should retire once you have renewables. Our view is the additional resources to support back the renewables. Existing ones need to still be there, but they will not be operating as much. But you need them for all sorts of regulation. To actually have the grid operating properly, you would need pretty much the existing resources to be in, but they will not operate as much. Market depth of some services need to be cheaper for reserve to back that massive amount of renewable penetration. And then for the 33%, as I said, there's a lot of barriers. One of them is the regional integration, and even some barriers that we have tried to resolve on the regulatory side. FERC rules of cost recovery for transmission was not very friendly to technologies like renewables or like wind. We took the task of proposing a new category of transmission to FERC in the form of a declaratory order which FERC approved. We would like to see some more federal involvement in making sure that the regional integration and interstate transmission actually get built for the benefit of all. We believe that, again, even though in the beginning we would need most of the existing resources to work with renewables to make sure that we have a reliable supply, our vision is demand response will play a bigger part of that role as we go forward. So this way we marry the two and would be less reliant on the traditional resources. So overall, we are optimistic, but cautiously, not without a challenge. And the engineer means that, well, we've done a lot of stuff that was major change from the status quo at some point of time. This one is not really harder than many of what we faced in the past, and we'll make it work.
We are an investor-owned utility. We operate in 8 states, the upper Midwest. We're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, and a little bit of Michigan. In the middle of the Rocky Mountain West, we're the biggest utility in Colorado, and we serve the Texas Panhandle and about the eastern third of New Mexico. And one thing all of those places have in common is that they have abundant wind resources. We have so far been very successful in taking advantage of that. We are the biggest utility wind provider in America, and we have the largest voluntary customer wind program called WindSource in America. We're glad to be where we are, and we want to keep going with that. We will more than double the capacity of wind energy on our system this year from where it was December 31. And we just in recent legislative sessions in our major states supported a renewables standard that would require us to get to 30% renewables on our system in Minnesota, 20% in Colorado, and we have similar standards that we do support in other states. Wind is the centerpiece of that renewable strategy. We're a company that supports wind power. We think it's good business. Our customers want it, and that's where it always has to start in business.